Okay, so we were told that the reason why we needed to shut down the economy, the reason why we needed to give up our businesses, our livelihoods, our jobs, our careers, and everything that we've ever worked for was to slow the spread so that the hospitals and the hospital workers would not be overwhelmed. Well, the hospitals are not overwhelmed anymore. In fact, the hospitals are empty. A lot of staff is being laid off. Thousands of staff is being laid off at hospitals. And yet we're continuing to see that Democrat governors are continuing lockdowns, draconian lockdowns of the economy, allowing people to continue to lose jobs and business. Now that hospitals are not overwhelmed and the curve has been flattened, we're seeing the goalposts continuing to be moved and lockdown orders extended. Meanwhile, millions of Americans are hemorrhaging jobs. Businesses are going out of business, businesses that have been around for generations. We're seeing people lose their livelihoods, their careers. We're seeing people that used to volunteer at food banks, now the ones waiting in line at food banks because they don't have money to feed their families anymore. And yet, the Democrat governors are saying that continuing these lockdowns is to keep you safe. What they're not telling you is that you are not safe from the Great Depression that is going to ensue if we continue to lock down our economy. That you are not safe from a tyrannical government that will take every single one of your freedoms in the name of safety. We are seeing hunger taking place globally. I think the United Nations has had to admit that 130 million people will die from starvation as a result of these economic lockdowns of the economy. So think about that. So how many lives are we really saving by shutting down the economy? Governor Cuomo came out and said 66% of the people that are getting sick are the people that have been locked up in their house. So think about that. 66% of the people getting sick in New York City are the people that are on house arrest. It's not the so-called essential workers. And by the way, I resent that word essential because I believe every business is essential. But it's not the so-called essential workers that are going about their day, getting on the subway, going to work and going about their day. That's not who's getting sick. It's the ones that are on house arrest. So with that knowledge, why is Governor Cuomo continuing to hold the New York City hostage, the people of New York City hostage, and continuing to hemorrhage millions upon millions of jobs? I'll tell you why. This has nothing to do with public safety. It has nothing to do with keeping people safe. And it has everything to do with politics. Because what we're seeing from Democrat governors is they're continuing to hold the American people hostage because they have an election to win in November. And if you think that I'm exaggerating, just listen to them. Just listen to what they have all been saying. Now they're blaming President Trump, calling it the Trump Depression. How do you call it the Trump Depression when President Trump is the one who is trying to open up America so that the American people go back to work? While you're locking down the American people, even after the hospitals are no longer overwhelmed, which was the stated goal, the reason for the shutdown in the first place. So in conclusion, I just want the American people to know this. During the Great Depression, 7 million Americans died from starvation alone. 7 million. And mind you, during the Great Depression, 70 to 90% of the American population was rural. That means a lot of people were self-sustained on farms. And now you fast forward to 2020, I think it's 90% of the American people or more are in urban areas. And most people don't even know how to change a light bulb, let alone grow their own food. So we're going to see in the United States, has there been a lockdown like this where people are not allowed to go to work, where people who own businesses are not allowed to open? You know what? Every single time you leave the house, you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk that you could get run over by a car. You're taking a risk that you could get into a car accident, you're taking a risk that you could catch a disease, a virus, not even just coronavirus. There are millions of other viruses that are out there that you could catch at any given moment. But you still leave your house. You still live your life knowing that you're taking those risks. So the fact that we're continuing to lock down the economy because we don't want any person to ever put any kind of risk on themselves is very ludicrous to me. Because at the end of the day, then you may as well just live in a bubble. You may as well just live in a bubble in your house, in your basement. Don't even look outside. Don't go outside. Don't even open the windows.